Hey, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. We're getting ready to go live in a few seconds. Are we ready? Am I looking all crazy? See, you ain't going to tell me my collar looking all crazy. Toasty. Hey, Sacramento. It is Wednesday. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key, and we are Selling Sacramento. Today's topic is the housing boom over? Is the housing boom over? Is the housing boom over? In case y'all didn't hear that, why am I saying that? Why am I saying that? Well, let's start with the fact that this is a market that I'm in on a daily basis. And within the past 2 weeks, we're working with anywhere from 15 to 20 buyers at a time. And within the past 2 weeks, we were able to get 3 buyers into contract within 48 hours. Within the past 2 weeks, we had an additional 2. And let me put this into perspective for you. With those 15 to 20 buyers in the past year, we've been getting maybe 1 or 2 of them into contract a month. To be able to get that many buyers into contract within 48 hours and then more into contract within the couple of weeks is signifying some type of trend in the market. Now, we know within these past 2 years, anything is possible, anything can happen. And the predictors, the normal predictors, we can't truly rely on them. They exist, but God's been throwing monkey wrenches in there and saying, here, hold my Pepsi, watch me do this. However, there are some things that we can look at and truly say, oh, wow, I think the market is starting to settle. So that's just one little personal indicator. However, CNBC News reported the housing boom is over as new home sales fall to pandemic low. And this was just 2 days ago. They reported that sales of new single-family homes fell to an annualized rate of 676,000 sales. That's 6.6% below May's rate of 724,000. So during the month of May, nationwide, 724,000 new home sales reported. For the month of June, 676,000 new homes sold reported. And that's also 19.4% below the June 2020 prior. That level was 839,000. So that was the height of the pandemic. Nationwide, 839,000 sales. Fast forward to today, same month, 1 year later, 676,000. That can be attributed to many things. But when we start looking at all of the indicators and putting them together, you've heard of that saying, you can't see the forest for the trees. If you're only looking at the tree, you don't see the whole forest. You've got to step back and look at the bigger picture. So I'd like to share with you, I should have had this mic over here anyway. I'd like to share with you this story from CNBC.
The new Census Bureau shows new home sales dropped last month to the lowest level since the pandemic started. The drop comes after a frenzied buying spree during COVID. CNBC's Diana Olick now to explain what's driving all of this. Diana?
Chef, the problem is the price. Affordability has been crushed after a year-long run on housing that hit both the new and existing home markets. That report out this morning from the census showed sales of newly built homes dropped unexpectedly to the lowest level since April of last year. And May's sales were also revised lower. The supply of new homes that are ready to move into is half of what it was just a year ago. The builders basically stopped working when COVID hit and didn't expect the sudden new demand from buyers looking for more space, both indoor and outdoor. Consumers needed to work, school, play, and exercise at home, and suddenly builders were scrambling to get on their feet again. But supplies were delayed, labor was scarce, and take a look, the price of lumber jumped over 300%. Now, lumber prices have pulled back recently, but they're still much higher than pre-COVID. And now, fires in the West and Canada are putting upward pressure on those prices again. It all drove home prices much higher, up 6% in June year over year for newly built homes, which, believe it or not, is a little bit of a relief. In May, they were up 18% from a year ago. Builders have been so strained that even the chairman of the nation's largest builder, D.R. Horton, said in a company release last week, "We have slowed our sales pace to more closely align to our current production levels, while building out the infrastructure needed to support a higher level of home starts." The number of homes for sale now that haven't even been built yet is at the highest on record. Shep.
We've got a couple of things happening right now that are leaning towards something that I predicted about a month ago, just looking at the future. The reason that home sales tightened, inventory, I should say, tightened last year was mainly because builders underestimated people would still want to buy homes during COVID. Not only that, but after COVID, once we were all quarantined, people started looking at each other in the house and realizing how much space they needed, whether or not it was because, I won't go into the psychology of that, but just to say that a lot of people realized they needed more space. And I will go into the psychology of it, because a lot of people they wanted to come home, return home. You wanted to be close to your parents, your loved ones. You wanted to build that safe circle between all of you. And so now all of a sudden, in an 1,800 square foot home, you've got 7 people. And then you're thinking, wait, there's some families that say, wait, we can all live together. We should buy a home together. Or you've got people who said, you know what, this is a great opportunity to buy. Why? Because interest rates dropped to their lowest levels ever. You've got individuals who are realizing that, you know what, this person gets on my last nerve, and we got to be in a house together. I just don't want to be this close to them. We need more space. Or you needed more space because the backyard, you know, how we started that backyard competition. There are literally Facebook groups about the best backyards and how to make your backyard an oasis. And so people moved for backyard space because they began making their backyard space another livable place to be. Lots of reasons that people decided to move and sell. The biggest reason, I think, is no secret, was happening before COVID, was the Bay Area mass exodus. People leaving the Bay Area and coming to the Valley. It was so cute. We have this new buyer the other day. We did a Zoom call with her, a pre-screening buyer orientation that we always do, and asked her, you know, where she would like to be, what are her must-haves, can't stands, things like that. And she just got this new job in the Bay Area, in San Francisco, as a matter of fact. She lives in Stockton. She's trying to buy in Elk Grove. That's what she wants. But she said, I would love it if I could be on the outskirts of San Francisco. And we kind of chuckled. Said, honey, you're going into the storm when everybody else is trying to leave the storm. And she qualifies for a certain amount that won't quite get her where she wants to be. If you all know Bay Area prices, what can you get in the Bay Area right now if you're looking for a 1,300 square foot, 3-bed, 2-bath home in the Bay? If you didn't know, a decent 3-bed, 2-bath square foot home in San Francisco, in Oakland, anywhere in the Bay Area is going to cost you at a minimum 8 or 900,000, and that might be too low. It might be closer to $1 million. And if anybody is watching or listening or watching on Facebook, you can correct me. If you're from the Bay and you can testify to what Bay Area prices are, just to let our listeners know. Oh, I'm getting a head nod over here. Yes, yes. So for her to want to look that way, I said, what we're going to do is we're going to create a portal for you of the Bay Area, just the criteria. We're not going to even put a price cap on it because I want you to see for yourself what those prices are, what you're going to get, what that would look like. Because I don't want you thinking I'm telling you. I don't want you thinking I'm steering you. I want to put the facts in front of you so that you can make the best decision for yourself. So I said all of that to say that when people say they want to live on the outskirts of San Francisco, the Bay Area, Sacramento is the outskirts of the Bay Area, the Valley, the region, the Sacramento region. No longer is Fairfield or Vallejo the outskirts. Those prices there, if you've ever driven to the Bay, you've seen this sign, and I won't mention the builder's name. I'll just say you've seen a sign that says this particular community is starting in the low 400,000s. It's been there for a couple of years, people. It is not brand new. Do not call your agent screaming and crying about how come I can't get a house over here. Just Google the company, look on the website, and you will see the most recent prices. They start in the mid 600,000s. The highest one is 1.something million. And my client, she saw that too. And I don't get angry about it. We just say, oh, okay. It's just part of the process. Educating you is part of the process so that you can make the best decision for you. Right? Mike Snell said a milli for sure, for sure. Literally, he said milli for sure. Y'all know what that means. You're paying $1 million in the Bay Area. It's unfathomable right now that's even fathomable for a basic place to live. I had a conversation with my daughter this morning. She is now living up north. And she was talking to me about possibly coming back and how minimum wage in California, and these are things that I don't think we really stop and look at, except for those minimum wage earners who are like, I look at that every day in my paycheck, every time I get a paycheck. Minimum wage is what? $13, $14 an hour? Anybody know what minimum wage is? If you're watching and you know what minimum wage is, drop it in the chat. It will cost you need to be earning at least $24 an hour, working an 8-hour-a-day job, 40 hours a week, to make enough money to afford an average priced home in a moderate neighborhood in Sacramento. I'm not talking about anything exuberant, just someplace safe to come home to that you can feel proud of and take care of. No particular bells and whistles. $13 an hour. Erica, thank you. She said minimum wage is $13 an hour. We need to be making twice as much. So these are the types of things that we need to take to our leaders in positions to make these types of changes. This is why voting is so important. I don't want to digress. I want to take a break. But when we come back, we're going to get to the stats. We're going to get to specific details as to why the market, I didn't forget. The show is about the housing boom being over. And I'm going to give you more information when we come back from the break as to why that is. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I'm Agent Key, and we'll be right back. Hey, everybody. Ms. Valencia, most Bay Area 2-1. Oh, in deep East Oakland. Oh, girl. Translation, that's the hood, right? $500,000 for a small home in the hood is what you're saying. Correct me if I'm wrong, because you put deep East Oakland on there, not even East Oakland. Girl, I understand. Thank you all for watching. Thank you, Miss Erica. Thank you. Hey, Michael. What's up? What's up, my dear? What's up? If y'all are watching, drop some questions or feedback in the chat so we can share it with our listeners. Just wanted to tap in while on lunch. Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for dropping in. Oh my gosh, you guys, it's so smoky over there. Where's all the smoke coming from?
It's not even in Sacramento, but it's blowing now.
Oh, it's that time of year.
Crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, you know what? I'm actually going to talk about that too. I know. I actually wore two masks on the way in here. Double duty.
I didn't see one.
Carcinogens, did we get carcinogens from that kind of smoke? No. Cancer, it's just nasty stuff.
Right, that's what I do.
Yeah. It's going to be messing with the sinuses.
Already.
Yeah, you guys. So I got some great stats that I pulled from Ryan Lundquist's site. So I love the fact that Ryan and I are on the same wavelength. Not that we are the only two on the same wavelength. There are a lot of people who are looking at the stats and looking at this information and drawing the same conclusions. But I really admire and respect Ryan. He's been in the game for a long time doing what he does as an appraiser here in Sacramento. And so I know that I'm on the right track when what I conclude lines up with what Ryan says. So if you all are watching and you know Ryan, tell him, yeah, Keisha gave you a shout out. She always does, though. She always does. So we'll talk about those when we come back. We're almost coming back from the break. I can hear it. I can feel it. Okay. Sacramento County. 15 seconds. Oh, you're being accurate today. Oh, that's a good indicator. Thank you. Appreciate it.
That's why I don't turn it down so low that you can hear it, but I won't leave it up so I distract you.
That's Dosty talking, y'all, my engineer.
2, 1, go.
Hey everyone, we're back. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. Today's show is the housing boom over. We started the show with a clip from CNBC because they reported yesterday that the housing boom, not yesterday, 2 days ago, the housing boom is over as new home sales fall to a pandemic low. And they referenced the U.S. Census Bureau's Department of Housing and Urban Development report, where they announced on July 26 that the amount of new houses that sold in the nation was 676,000. I want to add to that the median sales price for new houses sold in the nation, y'all ready for this in Sacramento? $361,800. $361,800 is the median sales price. So, of course, California is one of the more expensive places to live. What is the median sales price for the month of June in Sacramento County? Sacramento County median sales price for the month of June, $520,000. June closed ending with 1,723 sales, up 11.9% from the month before in May. And in comparison to a year ago, 1,506 last year. That's also up. So nationwide, in comparison, Sacramento, still booming a little bit, right? But even Sacramento is getting ready to stave off. And we're not, unless something really crazy happens economically, which we know that it can, it is very possible. But barring that crazy unknown, we will not see a foreclosure crisis anytime soon. I repeat, we will not see a foreclosure crisis anytime soon. But what exactly is happening that's causing prices to crest? I want to read something that Ryan Lundquist wrote. He says, are prices finally starting to slow? Can it really be happening? And Ryan is writing from the perspective of Sacramento. He said, have home prices likely started to crest for the year? The answer is yes. Here are two quick things that were on his mind. These are for the Sacramento region, but other markets may begin to notice the same thing. Prices, he says, prices have likely started to crest. This chart tracks prices by the week, so it gives a preview of trends before monthly stats come out. So what he's saying is happening in this chart, and I don't have the chart with me, but I just want to give you an idea of what he's talking about. He said prices have started to dip over the past few weeks. He said it's really not surprising, though, because it's been a pattern in recent years to see prices change around July. In short, and he says the same thing, unless something unexpected occurs to give another boost to the market, it looks like prices have started to crest for the year. In other words, it wouldn't be surprising if regional prices have hit their peak for the year. But here's the thing, if 2020 has taught us anything, it's impossible to predict the future. And this is where we need time to see the trend. And keep in mind, not every fall season is exactly the same. Sometimes prices stay flat for a few months around July levels before dipping a bit more at the end of the year. And other times we see a more definitive, slower season with a bigger dip. So the future has not arrived yet, so we don't really know what sort of fall we're going to have. But the trend right now is that prices are starting to dip. Monthly prices, number 2. Monthly prices. He says, let me show you how normal it is for prices to tick down in July by focusing on monthly prices. He's looking at the preliminary median price this month. And he says, as we know, July is not over yet, so we need another 10 days for stats to be solid. He wrote this a while back. With that said, when looking at multiple years, it's obvious we usually see a dip in July. As far as we can tell, that looks to be happening this month too. Not a shocker. A big dip, not going to be a big dip. But he says he's a bit hesitant to push out early stats because this monthly figure could change over the next 2 weeks. But he thinks it's valuable to show that it's not just weekly prices that are softening. And his quick takeaways: the temperature of the housing market is not the same in every price range and neighborhood. In other words, it's possible for prices to be doing different things in different areas. So it would be a huge mistake to assume prices are dipping everywhere. We know that there are some neighborhoods that are, I don't like to use the word more desirable, but just as he says it, they're doing different things in different areas. There are more people clamoring for certain developments because they can see the potential of the future. There are some areas where there are more multifamily units, and we know that rents now are officially higher than mortgages. And so we know that there are also a lot of investors, not only private investors, but there are big businesses now that are forming businesses strictly to purchase properties to turn into rentals. And that is because they see the future. They're looking at rent and renters as a huge potential opportunity to make millions and millions of dollars. Because why? It's hard to find somewhere to rent. The desire, the need is there. It's so strong. There's not a lot of inventory on the market. Once you do put the inventory on, because I was thinking about this, why are there builders building properties to rent? Rent is the gift that keeps on giving, ladies and gentlemen. As soon as you sell that property, it's gone. Those are the only coins you are going to make. I have heard, have not witnessed it myself, but I've heard from some very reliable sources that there have been situations of new home buyers. And if you're watching or listening, if you know of a situation, you can confirm. Let me know in the chat or give me a buzz. Give us a call. Where they've been in escrow on new home construction last year, for example, got the house at $485, right? That house right now, they could probably sell it for $6. And so the builders, and this is not, I'm not trying to say this is every builder. I'm saying this is something that I have heard. Basically coerce the buyer out of the contract, put the property back on the market and sell it for more. And doing things by charging them, telling them, okay, here's an addendum, you've got to pay for the lumber because there's a lumber shortage. Or adding something to the contract that the buyer didn't anticipate, something financially that makes it harder for them to stay in contract. And I can't imagine that it's legal. So I'm sure that there are going to be some lawsuits filed and some people that are going to protest that. But my point being is that greed is driving this. And there are only, there is an amount of people, a number of people who can afford to buy in this market. There are a number of people who are they're overextending themselves to buy in this market. There are a number of people who cannot afford to buy in this market. And they're getting pushed into being renters. There are a number of people who can afford to buy and are being pushed into the rental market. So that is where the opportunity for renting is coming from. That's why it looks so much more lucrative for big business to be in the rental industry right now versus the home building industry. We need those superstar humanitarian builders to step forward and do the right thing. We need individuals with plans to build affordable home ownership opportunities, not affordable housing. Affordable housing, yeah, we should be doing that anyway. That's just something we should be doing. That's like telling a daddy to babysit his kids. Babysit, he the daddy. You mean take care of his kids like the mama would? Affordable home ownership is what we need, not affordable housing. Affordable housing should already exist. So we need to be pushing affordable home ownership. Affordable home ownership. Home ownership bridges the wealth gap. Affordable housing keeps people under somebody else's thumb. If we really want to free people, if we really want to have a fair and equitable country, state, city, we need to push affordable home ownership. Faith, who's watching online, said that she said, I had an agent's buyer write on my listing because their client was pushed out of their contract with a new build by the builder. It happened. Yeah. Yeah. These are the reasons that we need affordable home. When there's affordable home ownership, you level the playing field. We have to do this. Why? Because there are several things that happened throughout our history where the US government made it legal to discriminate and oppress a certain group of people to prevent them from gaining economic wealth during one of the largest times that wealth was accrued. Several times throughout US history. And we need the same type of political policy force and muscle to come in and right that wrong. And why is this so important now that the market is beginning to settle? It's important to know which direction the market is going in the event you are considering buying or selling, to help you make the decision that's best for you. You should always be thinking about the long-term plan, not just the immediate. If you're thinking long-term, yeah, it's always best to sell high. Sell high and buy low. It's always best to sell high and buy low. But there are others who are not in a position to take advantage. And you're listening right now, and you may be in a position where your landlord told you that they're selling their home, and now you're going to be out there competing, trying to find a place to rent, and unable to do that. And it's sad to say that there's a group at the top that holds all the playing cards as to how this all unfolds to us little people down here. I'm not one of those people to sit around and say, that's not fair, that's not right. That's the obvious. Whining about it and getting emotional about it isn't going to change anything. Voting about it, getting involved is. And not just voting. We've got to think outside the box. We've got to embrace individuals who set out to disrupt how real estate gets bought and sold. When it's leaning in the favor of those who've been disenfranchised, we need to lean into those things. We need to examine that. What is an industry that has disrupted? What is a new technology that has disrupted a certain industry that we're all aware of? Robinhood, right? Robinhood. But we all know, well, we all may not know, Robinhood is in bed with some of those people at the top. You know, they weren't going to let them get totally away with it. But when they first came out, they started getting away with it. They disrupted the industry. They kicked open the door, and then it allowed technology gurus to get involved. So now we've got these other voices coming in from these other places that are influencing the stock market. And some people say that it's unscrupulous. I am not applauding it. I'm saying they're doing the same thing to them. They're playing their own game against them, and they don't like it. Wow. You know, how about that? What you gonna do? But we definitely, I believe that this is a short window of time where we have, as a people, the opportunity to right a lot of wrongs in a big way. This is an exciting time to be alive. If you are in a position of leadership, or if you're feeling a pull on your life to make a change, Walk on in it. Walk on in it. I'm digressing, y'all. The housing boom is over. Why are you saying that, Key? Fortune magazine said the historic lumber bubble is over with prices falling 68%. The lumber mill, y'all, for the 8th consecutive week, the price that sawmills charge distributors for lumber is down. Last week, the cash market price of lumber fell $90 to $485 per thousand board feet, according to the data provided to Fortune by Fast Markets. That's down 68%. That's the lowest price point for lumber since June 2020. The market is probing for a bottom, they quote, but it has been elusive so far. The market is nearly back down to its historical range. Market Insider is reporting 3 reasons why lumber prices could stage a late summer rally. That's a comeback. So they're saying, so on the one hand, we've got this media outlet reporting in conjunction with some others that the market is stabilizing, it's falling, we've reached a peak, we're going down. And then you've got this other media outlet coming in and saying prices for lumber could stage a late summer rally. Remember that unknown that we were talking about? You just never know what's going to happen. Listen to what they say. They could be due for a late summer rally after falling more than 70%. Wildfires and hurricanes could push the price up in upcoming months. Now, we know that's not, these are things that we don't really think about have anything to do with each other, but they do. Look outside your window right now. That's a wildfire happening somewhere. The air that you're breathing right now, that's wildfire smoke. We remember, what's the city that burned down a couple of years ago? Was it Cool, California? Up in that area. The entire city. And to this day, they are still struggling to rebuild. But these wildfires, they take out millions and millions of dollars of what? Property that needs to be rebuilt. And what do they use to rebuild? Lumber. Right? Hurricanes. Hurricanes take out property. Property. What do they use to rebuild property? Lumber. So, as we're saying, on the one hand, lumber prices are going down, which is going to help stabilize the market. At the same time, now we've got these two. They're not necessarily unknowns, but they're just things that we forgot to think about. So you've got this lumber conglomerate controlling a lot of this, right? That still doesn't take away the fact that prices are still stabilizing. Why? Houses are taking longer to sell. Why? Because at the end of the day, you guys who are listening and watching are saying, oh, heck no, we ain't paying that. Even in the Bay Area, if we all just rally together, I wish I could just get everybody to rally together and say, no, we are not going to pay more than, I can't really talk about prices, but you understand. If you just get together and say, we are not going to pay that, some of you already are. And that's why we're seeing houses taking longer to sell. And so we have some sellers who are looking at past prices and putting their houses on the market according to those past prices, putting them in front of buyers who said, they got their hands in front of them. I ain't paying that. And so the house is just sitting there. And then we're looking at it, scratching our head like, how come where's the feeding frenzy? Where are the multiple offers? Because the buyers have picked up their toys and said, I'm not playing no more. So thank you. Hats off to the buyers for standing up. We appreciate you. That needs to happen. Oh, Faith said it was in Paradise. Yes, it was the city of Paradise, California that burned down. Thank you. And they're still struggling to rebuild. What's another reason? More homes are selling below the list price. So we can easily go in and look and see a lot of price reductions based on what we were just saying, a minute ago. You list your price at a certain price point, you list your home at a certain price point, but then you don't get any takers. And we know houses were only on the market 3-5 days before we had multiple offers. Now they're on the market for at least 2 weeks. I'm seeing that more often. It's not the trend, but I'm seeing it more often, and other people are as well. Fewer multiple offers. Not saying that you still don't have multiple offers. Several months ago, I had 28 offers on one home, and it was very common. You all remember the big story, 100 something plus offers on one home in Citrus Heights. Now the what we're seeing occur more often is that there are fewer multiple offers. And again, I'm taking this information from Ryan Lundquist's website. I highly recommend, if you all want to stay in tune with market data, that you visit his website at the Sacramento appraisalblog.com. Wait a minute. It's something like that. Google Ryan Lundquist Sac Appraiser. He'll come up because he's nationally known. Another reason, more listings are hitting the market. That's my favorite one. That is my favorite one. Because where there is more supply, there is less demand. And what happens? The prices go down. And then what I predicted to you all a couple months ago gets to come true. I told you. I got to tell you guys this. I have a lender partner, Eddie Johnson. Y'all know him. He's one of my favorite lenders. He has always bragged about how well he cooks chitlins. I don't do chitlins. I do not. If you are a chitlin lover, more power to you. We all got our choices. I can't eat chitlins. I don't care how you cook them or who cook them. Who's somebody that I just absolutely admire? Condoleezza Rice. I admire Condoleezza. If she cooked chitlins, I'm not eating them. So let me tell you about Eddie. Eddie bet me that this time next year, the market's still going to be just as hot. Price is still going to be just as high. I said, I bet you a slab. He can cook. He can cook. He smokes some ribs. So I bet him a slab of his smoked ribs. If I am right, that prices this time next year will be less than they are. He bet me, y'all know what he bet me, a bowl of chitlins. Ooh, Lord, that I would eat. I feel something coming up in my throat just talking about it. Oh my gosh, y'all non-chitlin lovers, you know what I'm talking about. But so that bet's on the table. That is really how I feel, how strongly I feel, barring anything crazy. And we did put a caveat in our bet, barring anything crazy, based on what's coming, what's happening, prices are going to settle because buyers are going to walk away. Sellers are still going to need to sell. The only reason sellers pulled out of the market was because of COVID. People still need to sell their houses for the same reasons they've always needed to sell. Divorce, probate, empty nesters, leaving the state, retirement, all of those things still need to happen. You're just ready to sell. COVID last year was the only reason that we did not get an influx of listings. But what's starting to happen? More listings are hitting the market, especially as people get more comfortable. We get a better understanding of COVID. More people are vaccinated. Whether you believe COVID exists or not, mentally, people are becoming comfortable with what's going on. And so now they feel much more comfortable listing their home. Right? Slightly higher monthly inventory. We're seeing a slight uptick in monthly inventory. Very slight, but it's ticking up. We've hit the big home peak. Again, back to that first number. We are at, what did I say, 530,000 median sales price. That's just, it's unbelievable. 520,000. 520,000. Terrell Keys, y'all. He said, not the chitlins. LOL. Yes, Terrell. Yeah, not the chitlins, honey. I'm glad. Yes, I'm not walking alone. I'm not walking alone. Are you a chitlin eater?
No.
No, that was my engineer. I can't tell y'all what he really said. He mouthed something else, but he verbalized no. And it's okay if you eat chitlins. I am not hating. I applaud you. I think it was something that happened to me as a young girl, like mentally. Like a friend of mine, she invited me to go with her to a what are those little red, they're like crawdads. She invited me to go to a crawdad festival, and she was so excited. And I see people eat and enjoy crawdads all the time. However, I used to be a tomboy. I was a tomboy. Yeah, surprise. I remember going down to the creek. We lived in Elder Creek Apartments off Elder Creek Road, Kennedy Estates Apartments off Elder Creek Road, and 65th and Elder Creek. There's a creek right there in the back of the apartments. We used to go to the back of the apartments. Don't call in and say nothing about what I'm about to say. We used to go down to the creek, pull out the crawdads. And I remember there was this little, I don't know if it was a Chinese store. We called it a Chinese store. You know how kids are. We just make up names for stuff. But we used to go buy the little package of firecrackers. And we would take the firecrackers and we would put them in the tail of the crawdads and we would blow them up for fun. I'm sorry. But that was something that we did. And so to me, crawdads are not edible. Crawdads are ammunition. They're not. A crawdad is a vessel. It's not food. Okay, all right. I'm telling y'all too much about me. We got to take a break. But when we come back, we're going to wrap this up. Please, animal lovers, don't hold that against me. I'm just trying to tell y'all who I am. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key, and we'll be right back.
Now the truth comes out. And you have the nerve to talk about me.
I had totally forgot about that until she invited me to the thing. And I was like, crawdads?
I just want to say for the record, you have nothing that you could ever say about me.
Why do you say that?
Oh, heck no. You're a killer. And you're going to talk about me?
Does that make me a killer?
You're a murderer, basically.
A murderer?
Yeah.
Well, what about the people who eat crawdads? How does that make me any different?
It makes you a lot different because they're doing this for substance, to eat, to live, to fit. You are just Cruella de Vil.
And I love that movie, Cruella. Oh my gosh.
I understand now why you love it.
My daughter bought that movie for me on Netflix. Oh no, Disney Plus as a birthday gift.
I can see why.
Oh, I loved that movie. But I just,
my whole perspective of you has
just changed.
changed.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Let me see. We used to have crawdads too, but never blew them up. You bad girl.
That's all I'm saying.
Serena. Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? I'm sorry, y'all. We still love you. Confession is good for the soul. Thank you, Valencia. Oh my God. I feel so bad. Oh,
yeah,
shoot.
My perspective has changed now.
It's going to be okay. You'll be all right. You are a killer. D.
Huh? See? You said it was just me. He's just a murderer.
It's just crawdads, y'all. D, do you eat crawdads?
It has to do with you killing them for sport.
Who on here watching eats crawdads? Tell me, how does blowing them up for sport make you any different
You are
than eating them?
when people eat them.
They actually taste yummy, kind of like a tiny lobster. Oh, and see, I love lobster.
Apparently not. You
I
can't.
do. The crawdad is a cousin of the lobster.
You war on the cousins all of a sudden.
No.
They're both crustaceans. Yeah.
You know, you know, when you do stuff as kids, what?
There's no way to come back from that. Man.
I know.
You're
I know.
a stone cold killer.
I
now.
totally forgot about that but it's in my mind now that's the place in my mind that crawdads have. So the lesson we've learned from this
is that you're a murderer.
No.
Oh.
Never invite me to a crawdad festival unless we're bringing the fireworks.
Now that I know you have murder in your system.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if I want you around my friends now.
You know what? Oh, there's the song. We back. Oh my gosh. You'll be okay.
3.
I'll give you a ticket.
2,
Hey everyone, we're back. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I'm Agent Key, and yes, I am being not necessarily ostracized, lightly scolded for being a crawdad killer. But okay, we're not going to stay on that. I'll buy you a ticket to the Crawdad Festival. How about that? My engineer.
Okay.
Now he says, okay. He said, I'm looking at you differently now. Oh, gosh. Oh, Serena. Thank you. See, Serena is watching and listening on Facebook. She said, I'm impressed you successfully caught them because they are so fast. I rarely got any. Boom. I'm a fast killer, though. Crawdad killer. Oh my gosh, so many names can come out of that.
Yeah.
Crawdad killing Agent Key.
Yeah, I would think of a few.
Oh my gosh. Okay, back to the subject. We are talking about the housing market dropping. Not necessarily dropping. The housing boom being over. I think it's better to position it that the boom is over. And it's an opportunity that if you are thinking about buying, don't lose hope. Don't lose hope. Interest rates are still at historic lows. Still. So with the current market trending downward slightly, think about 3, 4, 5 months from now, when historically what happens in the fall with real estate, right? It starts to slow down. It starts to slow down because people get comfortable. They're at home. They don't want to move around. Their kids are in school. The holidays are coming. And just think about this. We didn't get to be with our families last year like we normally do. Now we can actually devise a plan to meet with our families for Christmas and for Thanksgiving. That means there's going to be less competition out there to buy. I'm telling y'all better listen to your girl. I'm looking out for your best interest. And if things change, I am not ashamed to eat my words. Whatever happens, I'm always going to keep you updated. I'm not going to ride my truth when it's no longer the truth. If it's not the truth, I'm going to come back and correct it. But for right now, as we are trying to forecast, the market in Sacramento is starting to settle. You're welcome. And thank you again to the buyers who are saying, no, we're not having it. Thank you. Thank you to the sellers who said, I am comfortable putting my house on the market. Thank you. It's time to get back to business as usual. Thank you. It was all for a reason at the time. It served its purpose, and now it's starting to settle down. We got to sit back and wait and see what other wrench is about to get thrown in this mix, right? So, with that being said, I want to make sure I got through all of the information. With that being said, I cannot believe that I'm on time to end today's show.
I'm saying.
And if y'all could hear my engineer, but he keeps me in line. He keeps us on air sounding good. I appreciate him. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. Check out my new website at agentkey.com, agentkee.com. I have written a new ebook called The Ultimate Seller's Guide. If you are considering selling your home, I totally forget about talking about this kind of thing. But why don't I use my airtime to bless the sellers? Go online to agentkey.com if you're thinking about selling. Download my free ebook so that you can get the ins and outs of what it takes to sell your home, especially in a market like this. And reach out to me if you're thinking about selling. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key. And remember, if you are doing what you were created to do, I will see you at the top.
I'm impressed.
Woohoo! I forget to say that. Hey, everybody. Thank you all for watching. Miss Serena, Miss D, Miss Valencia, Mr. Keys, Faith. Love you always. Erica. Thank you, Mike. Thank you all for tuning in, everybody. I'm out of here. Take care.